All right, so where I live is up on a plateau, and between where I live and where I work here at ETS, there's a huge valley down to the Delaware River. So this is the road that goes down to the Delaware River. It drops about a little over 450 feet. So we're going to take this slow, but it should be beautiful. And it's about a mile, maybe a mile and a quarter long. But this is where, if there's going to be accidents, from here to New Hope is typically where they are. I will see at least 10 good accidents a year along this road. I guess I shouldn't say good accidents. And since no one's in front or behind me, I'll pull over here to the side. You can see it's a pretty steep drop. All right. All right, so we made it to the river. So that's not the river, that's actually the canal. All right. And you'll see the river here shortly, about another minute. This is one of my favorite little towns to cycle through, and there's a bunch of hills here on the right. And in fact, what I think is one of the most gorgeous views, which there's cars behind us, so I'm not going to be able to stop, but it's up here on the right. Little bridge, all the snow. All right, so now those outcroppings of ice that I told you about and showed you a couple pictures of, they're coming up here on the right. And you'll see, so that was about 3 weeks ago, and in the last 3 weeks, they have gotten a lot bigger. And here's the river. So we have the canal here. First here, right next to the road is the canal, and then farther to the left is the river, which is does have some ice chunks starting in it again. A few weeks ago, it was almost completely frozen across. That doesn't happen often. And on the other side there, that's New Jersey. Now here comes the ice here on the right. That is one big block of ice. All of that. Here we go, here's more. Now the trees on the other side covered in snow with the sun, beautiful. So that little dam right there, it's actually not a dam. I guess it's like a waterfall. I forget what they call it, but it actually helps to break up the ice. So it gets there in a sheet, and when it falls over it cracks it and breaks it in little pieces. So you end up with all these little mini icebergs / ice cubes floating down the river. Better in pieces than big chunks, though. All right. So this is a Bulls Island walking bridge on the Delaware River. That's so you can walk across that bridge. You can't drive across it. Wow, that is beautiful. And a lot of people camp on the other side.
check found he had low blood pressure, but he did not have any life-threatening illness and was able to walk with help. Jose has met the mayor, who put in a call to the Marshall Islands Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Yes, he's a great day.
Where he is expected to be transferred to later. It says in 2006, 3 Mexicans were found alive on Marshall Islands fishing vessels after drifting across the Pacific while making the same perilous trip as Jose.
Thank God we found you when we did, or else you might have gotten so bad you couldn't have walked.
And they survived on rainwater, fish, and seabirds with the spirits kept high by reading the Bible.
He didn't even have a Bible. All he could read was Eternal.
By the way, Nick, your friend who was caught in a web of lies, what were his, what did he claim?
It started off that he fell overboard in a boat, and he was off the Florida Keys, and then he was rescued by scuba divers who happened to live in an underwater city. And they came home
But they immediately gave him some very salient advice about hot dogs.
Right, yeah. So they took him down to the underwater city, and I apologize.
This guy really said this?
Oh yeah, this whole story. But I think he listens to the show. So
Can we talk to him about it? Why not?
I'd rather not.
Come on.
Wait a second, there is an underwater hotel in the Florida Keys.
That's
Sure.
Yes. That's a good point, Casey. But he was, I think he was in the Gulf of Mexico, not near Key Largo, where that is. So,
Underwater city, they bring him down.
They bring him down, and it bubbles underneath the, on the surface of the ocean, or the surface of the land underneath
Like
the
where
ocean.
Jar Jar Binks lives?
Kind of, yeah. And so they take him in there, and they give him some water, fresh water, and they tell him,
We'll give you something to eat.
we'll give you something to eat, but don't eat hot dogs because they will expand in your stomach. And so it was just,
It'd be surprising that the hot dogs would even be on the menu if that was. I know they're on there, but don't eat them because they'll kill you.
well, from the underwater pigs.
Do you know if he still believes this story?
I don't know. I haven't followed up with it. He told us this story probably in 9th grade, 10th grade perhaps, and it was just one story. It was one line in the story after another, and it became so entertaining that we sat there and listened to all of it instead of challenging one of you. Like, no, this is a great lie, but it's entertaining.
In fact, I'd prefer that it was the truth. I'll always consider it the truth because it's such an amazing story of the underwater city.
I mean, and my friends and I still sit around and talk about it. Like, you really told us that story believing it, or thinking that we would believe it.
I wish you would let us talk to him.
I don't know him very well. I haven't really spoken to him much since high school. But
What hospital is he?
yeah.
Clayton Myers baffle me. They really do. There was a guy one night that told me that he was the ATF agent that was on the roof of the Waco compound when they were shooting that up.
Really?
And it was around the time, it was like a month after it happened. He's like,
So now we're approaching a little town called New Hope. This is pretty nice. So the canal goes all along here. Now it's snow covered. And it doesn't look like anyone shoveled it. We had a couple older guys here a few weeks ago who had shoveled a path down the middle of the canal and were ice skating between Stockton and New Hope, which is about a good 4-mile skate. So they were going back and forth. I'd see them in the morning and I'd see a couple different guys in the afternoon. I was kind of jealous. Ooh. All right, so now we get pulled away from the river here for about a mile. We go inland.
So evident, but he would do it anyway.
But I know what you're saying about this guy comes up. Your first thing is the ATF guy. Why would anybody say that if it wasn't? Your inclination is to say, okay, it's so, and that's part of the deal. It's so outlandish. But why would someone knowingly risk me thinking they're a buffoon?
I want to say the guy may have had a fake badge on. Which is, that's impersonating an officer, and you get yourself in a lot of trouble.
We have a friend who's a Marine, and now
I'm in SHIELD.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah, work on that giant aircraft carrier again.
You know that show?
Yeah.
It's real. It's giant. Yeah. Don't tell anyone. I'm kidding you.
But that's a problem. People will go into bars and looking for free drinks or recognition, claiming to be Marines or in the
farm
yeah.
services.
That's loathsome.
It is.
When you are,
But they
when you're,
do it.
yeah, when you're a person.
Or remember the guy, politician, claimed to have won a couple of Purple Hearts
Yeah.
2 years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, how low?
That's gonna get out.
Yes,
People have got
real Purple Hearts.
Really got injured in wartime.
Yeah.
Anyhow, well, this guy says that he's been on the sea for 14 months, and he put on 20.
I mean, honestly, after 14 months, shouldn't you have hit a continent?
You would think so, right?
Eventually? Don't, you know, I mean, just naturally, wouldn't you hit a landmass?
By the way,
Okay, we're back at the river.
he died.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
he
Oh, okay.
By the way, he was on an atoll. Is that an island?
Yeah, like the Bikini Atoll, you know, where they tested the
hydrocarbon?
yeah, in the 50s and 40s. It's like a coral formation that is an
Oh,
Hang on, let me go to Lynn. Let's tell me about a liar. Hey, Lynn, how you doing?
Hi guys. I'm
All
all
right.
right. How are you?
Good. What do you want to share with us?
I wanted to share that when my girlfriends and I were down.
all right. So now we're pulling into New Hope, and I'll go through New Hope and Lambertville, and then I'm gonna shut the video off because this is half of my commute. The other half is kind of boring, just going through farmlands. Although with all the snow, it might be pretty.
And we fell for it. We were so stupid.
Well, you know what? Because you're going to think, okay, the rest of this goes to the thing you were talking about earlier on the show, which is the opening lines. You know,
Yeah, bad pickup.
Right, I'm behind me, Bobby McGee.
And we fell for it. My other girlfriend.
You didn't give it up to him, did you, Lynn?
No, and we did not.
Okay.
You know, he got us some out. He hooked us up with some alcohol because we were underage.
I had sex with the Green Lantern.
Wow. Thanks, Lynn.
So
So what you have to do? Yeah, it has to be not ridiculously unreasonable. If you come up with something that's a little off,
Waco is perfect.
you can play it
Yeah.
off.
You know that girl who fell down the well years ago?
Yeah.
I was the second responder.
I was the second guy to
You know,
be
the first
there.
guy tragically committed suicide, but I was operating the winch when we got her out of the well. Okay.
All right. So here we go, going over the Delaware River
There was
New Hope
I was
into Lambertville, and that's always beautiful right there.
Job interviews, they said that this person, they won all these awards, and then they actually went to a trophy shop and had like plaques and trophies made for salesperson of the year. But that was just that's a good line. Now, Jim had says the big Purple Hearts. Yeah. We did my brother and I. We told these people at a party twins, and that we were born 3 years apart, and it was like just this stupid lie that people believed. So we just kept going on with it. Like,
you're just having fun.
You're not trying to get it ourselves. But it's amazing what people will believe that we were twins born 3 years apart.
No, you tell a lie, you know, tell a lie 3 times and it becomes true.
That's right. Let me listen to this one. Let me go to Elliot. Hey, Elliot, how you doing?
Hey, how you doing, guys?
Good. What's up, bud?
Not too much. I got a pretty good story when I was back in grade school. I had this kid, he convinced me and all my other buddies that his dad was a rapist. And, we, yeah, so...
Guess whose dad's a rapist?
Yeah. We were all friends, you know, just like, oh, God, rapist in high school, you know, middle school and stuff like that. So, I'm like, this guy's a rapist. So, we're in a party one night, and, we go up to his dad, and we're like, he said, I'm not going to say his name, because I didn't know his name. He's like, so you're a rapist. He's like, what? How do I say that? I'm not a rapist.
Elliot, did he by any chance think of a rapist as a jazz instrument or something? Oh, my dad's a rapist. Wait, he plays the rape.
All right. So now we're in New Jersey, in Lambertville, heading up the hill on the other side.
I mean, but you know what? He came by saying
All right, that's pretty much all the exciting part of my ride.